Welcome into Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist Phil Putney. Now let's get rolling with today's show. Hey everybody, welcome back into another edition of Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts. And it's email question time. We haven't done an email show in a while. So I think, Phil, we're going to knock out a couple of these. See, we've had some emails come in over the last couple of weeks.
Sure.
Obviously, you get back to people when they email us, so I don't want the folks to think like I emailed them weeks ago. No, just for the purposes of
we don't answer all of them on the show, but
that's right.
It's good to go through them occasionally on the show.
Yeah.
It kind of brings a variety of topics in. So
exactly. So yeah, obviously your questions get asked and answered, when you're dealing with Phil. But as far as just relaying some of the content onto the show, we get to those from time to time. So I got a few this week. We're just going to knock out a couple because other folks might relate to it. That's kind of the point, right? Many of us, we talk often about the fact of universal truths that affect us all in retirement. There's a lot of universalisms, but then the uniqueness of it per person is different. So
I always describe it as kind of your thumbprint, right? Everyone's got it. Yeah. Very similar look, but they're all different.
If you go looking at it, just even kind of a cursory look, they all kind of look the same. It's not till you really kind of get into it and exactly, get all CSI on it or something.
That's right.
All right, so let's jump into a couple. We got the Plymouth area. We got Roland, and Roland dropped us a line, and he said, "Guys, what rate of return should I be getting on my investments these days? Haven't been too pleased with my accounts for last several months." Not surprising.
Surprise, huh? Yeah, I mean, this is always the trick question. What should I get? What's my return, right? Average return.
What do you need?
Well, to the point, there's two sides to return, right? There's the need. How much do you need to make your plan work?
Right.
Hopefully you don't need 8% because you can be in real trouble in a plan.
You might be in trouble right now. Yeah.
Right. I mean, personally, when we plan, I try to plan a little bit more conservatively on a 5% average return.
Okay.
But averages are always a tricky thing, right? I mean, you can get caught in this average return concept because none of us get an average. We get this sequence like we're experiencing. Some years are up, other years are down. It's just what markets do. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, it's been a pretty strong market for a long time.
Right.
So a lot of us have got comfortable seeing these good returns. Addicted almost, to the point. And unfortunately, some people get addicted to the point of, I'm going to put more in. I'm going to, I want more growth. The growth are really, I'm going to go into the mega companies because look at the returns they're getting. Well, look at what's happened to them recently, right?
They've been taking a beating.
That's just what markets do.
Well, Phil, and I think
there's really no, what should you be getting? What's your risk tolerance? What's your comfort level?
Yeah. And I think that's where people hang up, right? Yep. So if you've got a plan and a strategy and it calls for you to need 4%, then anything above that is gravy. Right.
Correct.
Or whatever the case might be. And what happened is we got into that standpoint of, well, I only need 4 to make my plan happen, but I'm making 8 because the markets had been so great. So now I feel like I got to keep making the 8 or I'm in trouble.
Right.
It's not necessarily the case. You just might need to, rerun your numbers. You might need to redo your risk tolerance or some things like that. Maybe a little tweak, but wholesale changes are probably not required.
No. Again, it comes down to those 2 points. What do you need in the plan to make it work? And then what are you comfortable with? Everyone, and we talked about this on the last show a little bit, but everyone is, really comfortable with risk when everything's going good.
Right.
We all have been, take me more aggressive. That S&P, I love it.
Maybe Roland's case, you don't know for sure, but
exactly. It's been pretty much a smooth ride. I mean, it's always a little bumpy, but it's been generally up. Well, now we're giving some of that back. And that's what I've been telling clients for years. It's like, look, you got to understand average returns. Anytime you're earning above a historical average, just know you're going to give it back, some of it. It's what happens over time. That's what markets do.
Unless you've taken it off the table while the winnings were up, right?
Right,
it's
exactly.
very hard to walk away from it when we're winning.
Yeah,
anybody who's been to Vegas knows if you've 1 or 2 in a row, you're like, yeah, baby, I'm feeling
that's
good.
Right. That's right.
It's hard to stop. So it's same kind.
It can't be sunny every day. Talking to Michiganders at least, right? We have those seasons, and the markets are going through their seasons. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, my friend. We certainly
Yeah.
appreciate it. Jocelyn in Northville.
Mhm.
She says, I have a lot of blue chip stocks, Phil, that I've had for years, like Coke and Procter and Gamble, GE, things like that.
Good
I've been
companies. Yeah.
told, yeah, I've been told that I should find different investments though as I get closer to retirement. But I really like these stocks because I've had them for so long. Do I really have to make changes away from something that I like?
Again, it comes back to risk, to
Right.
comfort level. What do you need in the plan to make the plan work? Having all your money in stock, it can be very risky as you get to retirement.
Well, hopefully she doesn't have too much. She just has.
Yeah,
right.
If it's some of them in a limited amount, yeah, you probably don't have to get rid of them. I mean, they're in that later bucket from our standpoint. Could be good investments to have in there to ride through long term.
Right.
So anyone coming in wholesaling, getting rid of everything may not be the right strategy, and this is the discussion we have with clients all the time, because sometimes there are some assets that maybe you inherited these, right? Your
Right.
mom or your dad worked for one of these companies and that's where you got them, or they were an avid stock investor and, they followed these companies, invested for years. If those are types of investments that you have that emotional tie to, as long as it's not a half or 3/4 of your portfolio or a big chunk like that, it probably makes sense to keep them. We just position them the right way. So,
and that's what I was going to ask you, Phil. In this standpoint, when people find themselves emotionally attached to something specifically, there's nothing wrong with that. We talk often about not letting our emotions derail us, but to your point, maybe you only have a percentage, like it's just a percentage of your portfolio is in these things that you're keeping through hell or high water kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where you got to be careful, right? You don't want to get too emotionally attached to the point where it's going to hurt the plan.
Sure. But if you've got 5% in I don't know, these things that you just love and you don't want to get rid of, regardless of if they're doing good or bad, there's nothing wrong with that, right, Phil? As long as it's that manageable, I could take a beating if one of these companies went in the tank.
Right, because you're not counting on it for income this year or next year, the next 5 years. It's not going to change your plan. If they don't perform well this year. So
exactly. And you still got something you love.
Yep, absolutely. And I work with this a lot on clients, especially that have worked for, in our area, some of the big three.
Work for the company,
They get emotionally attached to this company, or maybe they've got a pension from it. They've bought into, stock plans. So they've bought,
that's
stock
what it gets
with after-tax money.
Right?
And they've got a 401k invested in the company. So now if you look at the picture, I mean, a big piece, 70, 80% or more of their retirement is tied up in a company, much less an industry. So that's a problem. If it's a small piece, it's probably not that big of a deal. Just make sure it's positioned the right way.
All right, Jocelyn. Well, hopefully that helps you out. And, again, we try to share useful nuggets of information. I obviously, Phil's already responded to these folks, but obviously at the end of the day, the point is really kind of diving into what specifically you need and what works for you. But for the sake of the podcast, hopefully that makes some sense. All right. So June, where was June at? Novi or Novi,
Novi,
as some of us would say.
For those non-Michigan people.
That's right. Novi. Somebody was just asking me the other day, they're going up to, and I think maybe I don't remember, Phil. Maybe I said it wrong. Right there at the top of the state, Saint Ignace.
Saint Ignace.
Saint Ignace. Yeah,
yep.
I did say it wrong. God, it's been so long. So I said Saint Ignace. Yeah, yeah. Oh wow, man. Now I want to slap myself.
Yep, Saint Ignace. Oh, that's okay. You're not from Michigan, so.
Well, I was for a long time. I just forgot.
Well, just don't tell them that.
It's funny how your mind forgets stuff, though, right?
Oh yeah. But there's only so much space up there. You got to push certain things out at a time.
Yeah, I lived there forever, and I was drawing a blank, and I was like, "How do you say it?" So it was cracking me up. So anyway, I off in La La Land to your point about your mind. All right. So June, sorry. Here's your question. She's in Novi. She says, I'm a federal employee, Phil. I have a nice pension when I retire next year. I'm wondering about the money in my TSP. Should I keep it invested there or maybe move it someplace else? TSP is a lot like a 401k for people who don't have
exactly. One. It's basically the federal government's version of a 401k. So it's the question that comes up all the time, working with retirees. So first of all, have a plan, understand, income you need. You've got a pension, do you have Social Security? I don't know your scenario. Maybe you were an exempt employee, so you don't have that Social Security because you have the pension. I don't know, but looking at your picture, then look at the investments and see if what's available there fits, right?
Yeah.
And that's too often, I think we approach it the other way. We look at the investments and then try to make them fit in a plan. To me, you got to run the numbers first. It's like building a house. I always, when talking to clients, this is how I approach it. No different than building a house. You wouldn't think of building a house, by just going to Home Depot and starting to throw things that you like in the cart and then coming back.
Obviously, you've not been to Home Depot with me.
Try to put it together. On a small scale, that's okay. But if you're approaching building a house that way, it's going to be trouble.
It's going to be trouble. Yeah.
You got to have a plan first, because what do I need? What's my income need? What's my tax scenario look like?
Right.
Can I do everything that I need in my plan in the TSP? And oftentimes you can't. So for instance,
if she's got the pension, right? It's it could be covering most of life, right? The TSP, right. Probably gravy.
Right.
I guess.
So Roth conversions. I mean, if you're going to have a tax scenario where, with RMDs and other income, you're going to get pushed in the higher bracket, and it makes sense to maybe reposition some of this money into a Roth.
Right.
Well, with a TSP or even a 401k, unfortunately, the rules change when you retire than when you're employed.
Right. Right.
And oftentimes the rules once you retire is you can't do in-plan conversions and different things, so you're limited by what the 401k or TSP in this case can offer. So, do you just blanket move it? No, understand pros and cons. And in fact, I mean, as a fiduciary, we now have to look at that to say, okay, what's available to you? Does it fit your plan? If not, then I think this fits better, and this is why.
So let's see. We got Livonia and we got Fred. What's up, Fred? He says, guys, I think we're at the bottom of the market. It's my thoughts anyway. And we'll finish way up, for the year. This is Fred's thoughts. He thinks we're at the bottom, going to finish way up for the year. He says, time to load up on stocks. How do you feel about that, Phil?
Bottom line, no one knows, right? We won't know when the bottom is until we're beyond it. And then everyone can point back and say, well, there it was.
So if Phil's a risk taker, Phil, sorry. If
Fred, yeah.
If Fred's a risk taker and he feels okay with this, as a professional, do you have a problem with it if he's risking his future? Yes.
Absolutely. Again, it comes back to understanding risk and positioning it, right? I mean, if this is all your money and you're planning on retiring next year, would I recommend you do that? Probably not. Because you might as well go to the casino and put it all on black or red.
Going up to Soaring Eagle or whatever. Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore. You go down to Detroit, but
that's right.
I mean, it's,
I'm out of touch, Phil. I haven't been.
That's right. So you haven't been to Michigan in a while. Yeah. But yeah, it's for that kind of money. No, I would not recommend doing that because we don't know.
Yeah.
For that longer term money could be funny you mentioned that because I just read an article the other day that talked about a strategy, looking back historically, and I forget exactly how it worked out, but if you invested once the S&P hit a bear market, this is kind of the average return that kind of an investor experienced.
Really?
Now, that doesn't mean they were at the bottom. They just meant you entered, right? So we're already down 20%. Right. That doesn't mean you hit the bottom. You can go down another 20, 30%. I mean, who knows what that bottom is? But historically,
you're buying at a discount.
You bought at a discount, right? We bought on the way down. We might not be at the absolute bottom, but we're definitely not at the peak, so. I
mean, his strategy of buying, time to load up, buying while it's low. I mean, yes, that's what we're supposed to do. Buy low, sell high, right?
Right.
But there's things about Fred's point that we don't know. We touched on this.
There's a lot of pieces,
last week. Like, is this cash that he used to get this?
Right.
He's buying up on. What is his age away from retirement? Is he retired? Is it totally free speculative money, if you will, or is he risking a portion? So there's like 40 variables that we don't.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, if this is just a little bit of cash, compared to your overall portfolio and scenario that you're comfortable putting at risk, absolutely. Like I said, there are strategies that play out. Maybe better than buying at the peak.
Yeah, true.
We're not at necessarily the bottom. Maybe we are. I don't know.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think we are, just because of everything, the different pieces that already are still in play, right?
Yeah.
So there's too many unknowns yet for me to be comfortable with, this is the bottom. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong.
Well, Fred, buddy, here's the deal. If you're not working with an advisor, if you don't have a strategy, just do us a favor, please, before you load up on stocks, just talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody. Yeah. Have that gut check.
Numbers. So. Yeah. Call Phil, 248-888-7530. It's on the screen. Call Phil and say, hey, listen, here's what I got. Share some more details, my friend. Anybody, please. Yeah. Find it.
Yeah.
Give him a call, get on his calendar. It's easy. It's an easy talk through. You could do the phone conversation thing. You don't have to necessarily come into the office, especially if you're all over the state or if you're not even in Michigan. Phil helps people all over the place. So
the wonders of technology.
That's right. Exactly. So just check with somebody before you do it. And really, again, that's the kind of the fun of doing these email questions is because it's real people with.
You don't know what you're going to get. Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get. And so many people might be like Fred or June or Jocelyn, right? And in a similar.
Talking to your neighbor or your uncle or, buddies at work, whatever it is. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going all in. I think this is it.
We're all human, right? I mean, I'm sitting here drinking my favorite drink. Phil's got his coffee, I mean, that's the beauty of the world now, the technology. It's not quite so overly it doesn't have to be so polished, right? Like we think TV and stuff back in the day and everything was super buttoned up, or you watch your major news networks and they're all very still very coiffed and polished and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. They've got to look the part. So
the beauty of podcasts is we're sitting in our offices, just having a drink and chatting about
some topics. Yep.
Real world stuff. So, Rita, let's see what we got for Rita. She's in can't read my own writing. Farmington, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, Farmington. Yeah. Rita says, guys, I'm 61 years old, never had a financial advisor. Enjoy the show, but I've made it this far on my own. I like getting information here and there, so I feel like I can make it the rest of the way by myself. I mean,
you could. I mean, the challenge is, and I hear this from clients all the time, when you get in retirement, there are so many moving parts, right? You don't understand. It's not as easy as saving for retirement. When you're saving, there's not a lot of variables, right? It's how much can you save? I mean, some of that's a budget variable, and what's the options? If 401k, well, here's the 10 options that plan offers, what's your risk? And you're pretty limited to what you can do. It's a pretty finite little world. You get into retirement, it's wide open. There are a lot of different options. You've got tons of options with Social Security. Do you have a pension? Do you take a lump sum?
Yeah.
All these different pieces. Taxes is a huge equation.
I heard somebody say the other day that it was the difference in accumulating and the accumulation phase and then the wealth, the preservation phase is the difference in how you like in trying to pet a house cat and then pet a tiger.
Tame a lion or something. Yeah, exactly.
Tame a lion, right? I mean, vastly different. Vastly
absolutely.
Same general species, right?
Yeah.
Vastly different, So
and there's, like we talked about the whole thumbprint thing, right? I mean, it's all the same pieces are there for most people, right? We've got certain sources of income, Social Security, maybe a pension, maybe you're going to work in retirement. We all have accumulated some money somewhere.
Yeah.
Taxable, tax-free, tax deferred type of accounts. And at the end of the day, we're all going to pay taxes, and how you change one versus exactly.
Right.
That's one, this changes and that changes.
Yeah.
And there's so many combinations of those three that there's no one, this is how you should do it. I mean, if you ever hear on a show like this is what you need to do, run, because it's not blanket for everyone.
Well, and those kind of YouTube channels, they'll have 100,000 views where it's like, here's how you can retire on at 61 if you just started saving 6 months ago, right? I see those things all the time, and it's like, come on, like you have to know that they're just after views. Even not the big media things, even the smaller YouTubers and things.
Oh yeah,
it's like, we're trying to talk about this stuff because you have a practice. They may have a practice. I don't know. I'm not trying to say, but it's like, come in and talk with somebody, send a question in, have a conversation, whatever the case might be. To Rita's point, she sounds like she's been doing fine. She's made it this far on her own. But when I think you start trying to figure out how those pieces work together, because she probably is fully aware she's got to do Social Security. She's fully aware she's got to activate Medicare. She's fully aware that she's got to pay taxes. She's fully aware that she's going to have to pull money out of her accounts. But how do you do it efficiently, smartly, and how does one affect the other? Because that's the trick to me of retirement planning.
Absolutely. Get some education. I mean, that's why we offer educational courses on this: Medicare, Social Security, and taxes. I mean, those are the three main topics we go through with our clients.
Yep.
Or clients to be. I mean, that's how we end up getting clients, is through the classes. I love educating. To me, it's a give back to the community to help start to educate, to make you aware of here's how those pieces look. Mm-hmm. And we'll run through a lot of scenarios in those classes to show you here's that interaction. So you can start to kind of open your eyes a little bit to how this world looks in retirement.
Rita's 61, and Rita, we're not picking on you, dear, but she's 61. Mm-hmm. Last 12 years, the market's been pretty favorable, Phil. So Absolutely. We don't know anything about what she's done. I'm just basing this just on this very little bit of information. But so 12 years ago, she was in her 40s. Right. Mm-hmm. End of her 40s, but still. So, building up that in 50s, we talk about you're making probably the most money that you typically make in our 50s. So, yeah, I mean, the last 12 years, let's just say she's probably done a great job and she's probably feeling pretty good. But now that we're getting, and maybe that's why she's decided to even listen to the podcast or even submit a question in, which, it's great. Because maybe she's starting to see, like many others, that there is an awful lot of stuff that we have to deal with in retirement, right? I mean, most people don't even realize that you need to let Medicare know, what is it, 3 months early?
There's timing on all these different pieces. So, we talk about this retirement red zone, right? I mean, you can't retire on this date and start a plan then, right? I mean, ideally you've started that plan, hopefully ahead of time, especially now, right? If you haven't had the discussion of retirement before today, if you were planning on retiring this year or next, and made changes potentially to your plan, not knowing, again, your investments and how there are, it might be a different scenario for you now, because maybe you're down significantly in this market and you didn't get things positioned the right way with some of the money as you entered this. I mean, don't rely on, I made it this far, I'm doing good, I can make it on further. Talk to somebody, if nothing else, have that initial discussion to see what you don't know.
And as a CPA and a personal financial specialist, I mean, you're seeing all those different kinds of equations and things of that nature, areas to look through. So great questions. Thanks, guys, so much for submitting to the show. We certainly appreciate it. We always appreciate everybody's time. Don't forget to subscribe to us on philstaxhacks.com. That's philstaxhacks.com. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, all the podcasting audio platforms. If you want to watch a video form, it's on YouTube. You can look at our goofy faces as we talk about stuff. Whatever the case might be. But as always, do yourself and your retirement a favor. Talk with a qualified professional. If not Phil, somebody, talk to one or two, interview some people. Make sure you're working with a qualified pro who has, the right credentials, but also the right temperament and mindset for what it is that you need, right, in your life and what you're looking to accomplish. And again, if you need to reach out to Phil, 248-888-7530. My friend, thanks for hanging out as always, buddy.
Thanks, Mark.
I appreciate your time. Have a great week. We'll see you next time. Yeah, we'll see you next time here on Phil's Tax Hacks and other retirement facts.
Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and/or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.